Something that I have been interested in learning more about since the series began is the mechanics behind a devil's pact with a human, how their contracts work and what exactly enforces them, so that a human can actually gain something from a devil without just getting torn apart. Unfortunately, we have extraordinarily little information on how contracts work. What we do know is that a devil can have contracts with multiple humans at once. These contracts continue to exist even if the devil themselves are in hell, as seen with the Hell Devil summoning or the contract made between Santa and the Darkness Devil. We have also seen that devils can alter the requirements for their contracts, changing them depending upon the person and what exactly they are seeking from that devil specifically. Devils also seem to be capable of breaking off contracts, as seen with the Fox Devil, who after Aki got on its bad side refused to let him summon it again. It is not known if there is any sort of backlash for this or if contracts can easily be dissolved without consequences, but presumable there is some sort of insurance, otherwise what reason is there to even make a contract with a devil? From what we know with Makima and her reincarnation, it seems once a devil has been reborn their contracts are either cut off or they do not seem interested in them, as Nayuta does not seem to have any awareness of what Makima was up to beforehand, but that is yet to be confirmed. That long preamble was all to set up the discussion on if Denji still has a contract with the Blood Devil, more specifically with power and the implications which come from this potential binding agreement. So here are my thoughts on it. I believe that Denji still has a contract with the Blood Devil, and because of that fact he has limited access to the Blood Devil's ability to create blood weapons, as we saw at the series part 1 ending when he made a chainsaw to cut up Makima. I believe as long as Denji intends to seek out the Blood Devil and reform them into power, this contract will stay in effect on his side. The issues come in with how this new Blood Devil reacts to having a pre-established contract which involves its growth and alteration into a different person, which it might have an understandable level of disagreement with. Given how the power who made a contract with Denji was from the small amount of blood of hers which existed within Denji, empowered by Pochito, it is possible that a new Blood Devil had already formed in hell, depending upon the time it takes for a devil to reform, or if for a devil to reform they have to be absolutely killed with no way of revival on Earth, as the blood within Denji might have been recognized as a quotation marks living Blood Devil, as it was technically alive within Denji. If the Blood Devil contract is still intact after the reforming in hell and the Blood Devil is aware of it, it might seek to break it. However that is actually done, and if them requires specifics, we will have to see, and could bring the devil into conflict with Denji, just as Power said, that they would likely meet as enemies. If the contract still exists but the Blood Devil is not aware of it, then there is the possibility that the contract might subtly influence the Blood Devil, providing potential involuntary flashbacks to its time as Power, which might drive it to seek out Denji with potential destructive desires, seeking a way to rid itself of the feelings it does not want or understand. This gets even more complicated with how the blood within Denji reacts to the Blood Devil, as all devils find strength and vitality in blood. But the Blood Devil is a complicated case for many reasons, not least of all for it possesses the ability to seemingly resurrect itself from only a small portion of blood, provided that a suitable devil provides assistance, as seen with Pochita. This blood seems to carry more than just the essence of the Blood Devil, but its memories and personalities from the time when that blood was spread. With this in mind, would it be possible for Denji to return the memories of being Power to the Blood Devil by allowing it to reabsorb the blood that Power gave him? This is presuming that the Blood Devil has not already developed to the point that it has its own complete ego, complete with goals and desires, as this could potentially bring it into conflict with this infection, as it might consider it. Which might cause a strange disconnect to occur, with the Blood Devil being influenced even more by the thoughts of Power but still fighting against it, driving it to seek more fiercely to destroy Denji, or to even destroy itself for the sake of spiting him. Either way, this issue depends upon if the Blood Devil has already formed into a drastically different being to Power. Considering that we know at least a week has passed since Power's death, it is possible that this new Blood Devil has already been killed in hell and returned to Earth, as was presumable the case with the Control Devil. But so far I have only spoke about how the contract might affect the Blood Devil on a mental level, but now let us think about how it might also bring a taxing effect to Denji, who at the end of part 1 is in a much better place than he was a few chapters earlier, but he is still far from being mentally stable. So how much would it take to send him spiraling once again? And this contract could easily be the key to it. For instance, what if Denji is haunted by an ever-present gnawing sense of guilt brought on and reinforced by the contract, as he does not, from what we know from the last chapter, seem to be actively seeking out the Blood Devil? If contracts are binding on both sides of the agreement, presumable because Denji agreed, at least as far as power was concerned, he might be influenced to turn away from other opportunities to instead fruitlessly seek out leads on the Blood Devil. This could even lead to him being even more reckless than his usual antics, which can be quite troublesome, and cause him to begin spiraling once more into a depression, now suffering not only from survivor's guilt as the only one of his small family to have survived Makima's rampage, but also with the addition of his newfound fame and the contract bearing down on him, he might start to develop imposter syndrome, believing he isn't worthy of the praise if he can't save even one person, a friend who he made such an important promise to. The contract might also give Denji brief flashes to what the Blood Devil is doing at any one time, a sort of aid to allow him to track it for his mission to return the devil to being power. But thus far we have only really considered the negatives which comes from this contract. Instead, let us try and look at this from a more positive light. Of course, knowing Chainsaw Man and Fujimoto, the likelihood of us getting a positive outcome without any immediate negatives or potential setups for devastation and heartbreak down the line are unlikely, but let's just consider them for a second anyway. So, on the side of the Blood Devil, let's just say that somehow the Blood Devil has yet to develop its own distinctive personality. It is like a wild beast, it has the instincts which drives it, but it doesn't have a true sense of self yet. The presence of the contract could cause the Blood Devil to begin imitating some of Power's mannerism and begin to develop an intelligence at a rate faster than it would initially be able to. This might provoke the devil into seeking out Denji, as while it might be unaware of the reason, he provides something that in turn helps it to survive, but of course it might also scare it as it does not fully comprehend what is happening to it. In the case of Denji, the influence of this contract might actually help to stabilize his crumbling sanity. After all, high school is stressful enough for regular teenagers, let alone a devil hunter with a few social skills as Denji and as a traumatic history as his. It would not be surprising for him to suffer bullying in a way that he cannot simply lash out and begin to lose his way. That is when the contract, in order to preserve itself, forces him to remember power, to remember the good times and the promise of the good times which are yet to come as long as he keeps moving forwards. This could be used as a sort of power of friendship type power-up with actual tangible and understandable reasoning, not to mention it likely wouldn't help him in an actual fight, only really influencing him in those times when he is on his own, left alone with his thoughts, when he can't escape from the reality by distracting himself and he has to face it head-on. A simple nudging shoulder to keep him from breaking like he did when Makima initially killed Power. Of course, this could all end up as a clever setup for a more depressing scene down the line. Imagine it, we see Denji crumble time and time again, only preserving with the goal of getting Power back, egged on by the contract, and then when he needs it most the Blood Devil serves the contract, perhaps as a test or just because, and Denji has nothing left to lean on, like a person with clinical depression deprived of their medicine, which is what he would essentially be. He would break, and it would be both marvelous and horrifying. It would be in this moment when Denji, perhaps for the first time, would have to push through on his own, no outside influence from a contract, from Pochita, from Makima or anyone, and could be a key defining character moment. Either way it would be something to behold. But in the absolute best case scenario, which is about as likely as no more characters dying for the rest of the series, Denji comes across the Blood Devil, splashes from of Power's blood on it, and suddenly all those memories come flooding back and there is no complications in the return of Power. But of course, that is not going to happen. At the very least I am expecting a fight, clashing of chainsaw and blood, a gruesome display of brutality and lots of heartache on the path, which might very well end up pointless anyway. Because yes, Unfortunately, this whole thing ending up in failure and being pointless is a very real thing, because tragedy might as well be Fujimoto's middle name at this point, so it would not be surprising if in the end this all turns out to be a false hope, a light in the darkness which only serves to lead Denji and us deeper into the abyss. Can you imagine what a kick in the teeth and a punch in the gut and a stomp on the feels that would be? We go an entire season or more depending upon both the popularity of the story and the direction of it, with Denji slowly clawing his way to getting power back, going through a very personal hell which is uncomfortable, realistic, and at the end what do we get? A realization, an understanding that no matter how hard we try, no matter what tasks we undergo, once someone is gone, they are gone. And Denji has to deal with that fact, that his quest was pointless, that Power's words were meaningless, and that everything he had done up to that point for this one goal was all of naught. That would be so beautifully crushing that I honestly cannot even think of how that might impact the story and the characters in a way that I consider to be satisfactory. Of course, this has all been my senseless ramblings on thoughts and theories. Let me know what you think in the comments down below, and don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video and want to see more from me. I have been the Anonymous Weeb, and I wish you a good day or night wherever you are.